Up next on Tapestry, we spend the day in Olcott, New York, where amusement is center stage. Against the backdrop of Lake Ontario, our first stop is the Lakeview Village Shops.
This was the first real attempt by the town to create a public-private partnership in a targeted way. So the town built and maintains and still owns these shops, and then we rent to the private businesses.
Just down the block, we ride the full-size Ferris wheel and stop for gelato at Goodies at the beach.
I just wanted to have a lot of fun. The gelato, I wanted to bring something different to Olcott. That was really my motivation.
And our trip to Olcott wouldn't be complete without a stop at Carousel Park, where vintage kiddie rides remind us of a simpler time.
Well, we wanted to make it affordable for everyone. So no matter what your family had, we wanted to kind of replicate what it was when we were children.
That's all ahead on Tapestry, right after this.
Compact Science is your gateway to the science of everything in our region. Join host Sarah Jane Gomlick-Green and investigate the geology of Niagara Falls, discover the chemistry in sponge candy, and learn how density affects lake effect snow. Watch Compact Science on the Buffalo Toronto Public Media YouTube channel.
From in-depth reporting to musical masterpieces, dramas, and mysteries to local bands, Buffalo Toronto Public Media delivers it all. Stay informed, be inspired, and join us. This is Public Media.
Welcome to Tapestry. I'm your host, Lynn Bader. We're in the beautiful hamlet of Olcott, New York, on the shores of Lake Ontario. The sun is shining down on the cutest little strip of shops that instantly takes you back to a simpler time. And we're meeting up with Gina Guido Redden. Gina, thank you for hanging out with me a little bit today.
You're welcome.
When I first came and introduced myself to you, you did not call it Olcott. You said...
I said Olcott, which is the way the locals pronounce it.
Ah.
And that's how you can tell a tourist from a local out here. If you pronounce it the way we do, it would be Alkit.
So Olcott.
Olcott.
All right. Gina, you wear a lot of hats in the town. Talk to me about your involvement in tourism here in Olcott.
Yeah, I am, I'm a local business owner, but I am also the chairman of the town tourism board. We do everything we can do to amplify what goes on, to attract tourists, to integrate with larger tourism communities in Niagara Falls, across the state. We follow the trends. We communicate with all the business owners. We do a lot of organizing. And in addition to the tourism chair, I am the chair of fundraising for the Olcott Beach Carousel Park as well.
Oh my goodness. You were born here.
I was born here, born and raised.
What's so great about living in Olcott?
Olcott is a wonderful place, a beautiful place, but the community, the people in the community are really unusual and spectacular. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the greatest part about living here.
Why do you think this place is so beloved by people across the region?
Well, Olcott Beach in its heyday, when the train station came here, just before the turn of the century, a train ride from here to Niagara Falls might take an hour. From here to Buffalo might take an hour and a half.
Okay.
Right? And you could get here from New York City on connecting trains. And I think that's how it became the resort town that it was in its heyday. And it has a very long and storied history with amusement parks. So there's always been an amusement park in Olcott. And I think that the lakeside amusement parks is one of the reasons that it became such a beloved tradition.
There came a time, however, when Olcott kind of needed a new spark. What were some of those early conversations like, and what was this area that we're sitting in here right now like at the time?
So, well, Olcott went through several stages of change. The first was when cars became just more available to all people, and they didn't have to plan their vacations and their travel next to a train line. Olcott followed the same natural path of every other small town during depressions, during recessions. There seems to be a point in every generation that there's a spark. This boardwalk, this is 32 years old, and this was one of those sparks. This was the first real attempt by the town to create a public-private partnership in a targeted way. So the town built and maintains and still owns these shops, and then we rent and to the private businesses, and the tourism board manages them and recruits the businesses that we think will serve the tourists in the best possible fashion and bring them back.
Great. So I'm hoping that you can make me maybe take us on a little walk and we can visit some of these shops.
Sure, I would love to do that.
So you said there are how many shops here?
10.
Can you give me an example of the kinds of things I'll find at these shops?
Gourmet popcorn. We have an all year round Christmas shop. The Boho Siren is a local artisan, so all sorts of artwork. You can also sign up and take art classes with Christine at the Boho.
That's cool.
The Dragonfly down the way is coffee.
The shops were just opening for the day, but I had the chance to meet Karen Young, who runs the gift box at the beach, the Christmas gift box store, and she's also the liaison for the Lakeview Village shops to the Town Tourism Board. And
I'm also the secretary of the Olcott Beach Community Association.
so, what does the community association do?
They kind of take on everything that is in the community. So they're planting flowers, making sure there's benches for people to sit on. So not only for visitors, but also community members that are, walking. Garbage cans, the things that, you might not think about. They plant the flowers on Main Street and by our gazebo area every year. And then started planning events too.
How do you do that? Financially, how do you do that?
Donations.
Oh my.
We're all just volunteers. So that means some of us are business owners, some are just community members that are like, hey, I want to help out, do whatever. I just want to help plant some flowers and weed some gardens. And so everybody kind of does a little bit of everything. I've been part of it for about 10 years now.
And that's what improves the quality of life in a community like Olcott, and I would argue any community.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And nobody takes a paycheck. Nobody, it's just for the good of everybody. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
It was great to
Nice
meet
to
you.
meet you. Nice to meet you.
I might need to look at some socks and a t-shirt
Yes,
too.
of course.
There's a lot that goes on in this town.
Oh, there's a lot that goes on. We have, I think, the largest deep water marina on the entire southern shore of Lake Ontario. But we also have an enormously busy event schedule that runs all season.
What kind of events?
We have live free music on Wednesday nights, on Friday nights, on Sunday afternoons. We have car shows every Saturday. We have wine tasting on the boardwalk every Friday. We have a large free jazz trail. We see an enormous amount of traffic comes in from Canada and from out of state. We call it a jazz trail and not a jazz festival. At most jazz festivals, there'll be a stage and performers rotate on and off the stage.
Yeah.
We have multiple stages all through town. So in order for the people to follow the music, you walk them through the town as they're going. We have, of course, world famous Buys popcorn.
Yes, I did
yes.
see an article that's coming back this year.
It is. We are very excited about that. It was put up for sale after the death of a longtime owner, and a local resident who is committed to keeping Buys in town bought it, and we're hoping that opens before the 4th of July, and we're just thrilled.
What does it feel like for you now as we sit here today when it's really bustling here? Kids are, parents are bringing their kids maybe year after year after year.
Yep.
How does that make you feel?
That makes me feel really wonderful. It is a very passed down the memories from every generation to another generation. We hear that from all of the visitors. The Carousel Park is on a pedestrian street connected to the shops, and the motto at the park is making memories for a new generation. And you see the kids grow and age, and then them bring their children here. And we hear that from visitors at the shops all the time. I came here when I was a child to go to the Carousel Park. And now they're back here for wine tasting nights on the boardwalk at the village shops. So it's just a wonderful feeling.
When you think about the future of Olcott, what do you hope visitors and residents will continue to feel when they come here?
I hope they feel welcome. I hope they feel affectionate. And I hope they feel nostalgic. We like to make bonding and the lake experience public and accessible to everyone.
Thank you so much for sitting down and spending some time with me today.
You're very welcome. Welcome to Olcott.
Next up, we sample a sweet treat from Goodies and meet the guy who's responsible for bringing a full-size Ferris wheel back to town, right after this snapshot of Olcott history.
In the early 1900s, Olcott, New York wasn't just a lakeside town. It was known as the French Riviera of Lake Ontario. Thousands flocked to its shores by trolley and steamship, drawn by lake breezes, sandy beaches, and the thrill of summer escape. Luna Amusement Park opened in 1898, featuring live entertainment at the Dreamland Dance Hall. And later, Rialto Park brought even more excitement with a wooden roller coaster, carousel, Ferris wheel, and more. Just up from the water stood the majestic Olcott Beach Hotel, 5 stories high with 100 elegant rooms with grand verandas. Its ballroom welcomed stars like Louis Armstrong and Glenn Miller, playing for high society crowds beneath glittering chandeliers. Each summer, the hamlet hosted pioneer picnics, drawing massive crowds. In 1899, Governor Theodore Roosevelt addressed a crowd of 20,000, underscoring Olcott's cultural popularity. It was a golden age on the lake, where families made memories, music danced on the breeze, and Olcott sparkled as Western New York's very own resort playground. A century later, that spirit still lingers.
On a hot summer day, I love sitting by the water, enjoying a sweet treat. And I'm not the only one. Our next stop was an ice cream and gelato shop next to Carousel Park, where we sat down with Paul Hartigan, a guy whose memories of this place run deep. And he just wants to share that with everyone he meets. We are here at Goodies at the Beach. Paul, thanks for hanging out with us and welcoming us.
Thank
It's
you.
a really cute shop.
Thank you very much.
I feel like I've walked back in time just a wee bit.
It was a combination, actually, of walking back in time and carny concession versus ice cream. That was my feeling for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, what I've heard is that you actually are not from Olcott.
No, I'm from Lockport. Yeah, grew up in Lockport, but I used to come here a lot. Back then, the whole thing was to get in the station wagon, go for a ride, go to buy popcorn, and come to the clam bar and go in this amusement park.
Was ice cream one of your favorite foods as a kid?
No,
or
not really. It was so much simpler. I wish I had a better story for it. The whole motivation, more than anything, was to do something in Olcott. Okay, so I saw this building. Mm-hmm. I thought this would be a good place to put just about anything. And I was going to make it a little bit different. I had pralines and beignets and other things that I was thinking about. And then it just sort of evolved into ice cream, then into gelato, and now into popsicles and milkshakes and everything else.
So what inspired you to learn how to make gelato?
The gelato, I wanted to bring something different to Olcott.
Okay.
That was really my motivation. And frankly, a lot of times they have to explain what gelato is to probably 80% of the people that come here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I went to gelato school at the Carpigiani's Italian Gelato School. It's actually in South Carolina. That's where their corporate headquarters is in the States. Okay.
Okay.
And then I went to other ice cream schools. So that's where I learned how to do it. I went to what would be the equivalent of ice cream or gelato Nazi teacher because if you didn't have the exact right...
Like the soup Nazi.
Yeah, soup
Okay.
Nazi. If you didn't have the exact right number of grams in there, the right number of skim milk, then it was like no gelato for you kind of thing. So it was really, really good. Yeah.
Do you remember the first batch of gelato you ever made?
Yes, I do. It was terrible. I'm not kidding y'all. Okay, well, there's a couple of things about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's the trick to gelato?
Well, the trick, okay, the gelato was a lower fat content than American ice cream. So in order to get a lower fat content, you have to use a whole bunch of different ingredients.
Okay.
So I literally hired a gelato consultant off of YouTube. Okay, he still got, and he kind of gave me the ingredients that make the lower fat content. But then I tried a couple of recipes for my pistachio, and they'll tell you it like was cardboard. We literally we just threw it right out, you know what I mean? But now I've got it tweaked down that, you know,
We
it's
might
gonna
have to
come out.
try. We
Yeah.
might have to try a little.
Yeah, but there's other ones too, though.
Do you have favorite
Scotch
flavors?
Well, that's a great question. I get it asked all the time, and it's sort of like asking someone who's your favorite kid. You know what I mean? It's like, I like this one. You know, everyone's got a little twist to it. You know, so we sell a lot of Oreo. We sell a mint chocolate chip. I literally freeze peppermint patties and chop them up and stick them in the mint chocolate chip. This week I did red velvet cake. The whole red velvet cake, frosting and all, goes right into the ice cream as it comes out of the machine. I went to ice cream school, ice cream boot camp, about 4 times.
Why'd you go to ice cream school 4 times?
Well, I could have actually went more, okay? Yes, and I might still go, okay, again, because the first time you go, you don't know what you don't know, right? And so you go there, and he's talking, and it's a lecture, and okay, yeah. But then the second time you go, oh, I tried that, or that wasn't working quite right, and you go back to the guy again, and then he asks a better question. And I'm just loving it. I love finding the ingredients, my scoop masters.
You know we didn't leave without trying a sample or two.
That's strawberry. That's this week's special. Came right from 104 here, the strawberries.
The strawberries
Yeah.
were locally grown.
Yeah.
Love it.
Maple walnut. The maple syrup came from the Amish guy in Medina.
I'd love to try some gelato.
You're gonna try. So
Okay.
how about you, young lady? This is the Americanized pistachio. You can feel the pistachios in it.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
So good. So as we're riding into town, we
Yeah.
see an adult Ferris wheel, and I knew it
Yeah.
was there. I knew I was going to talk to you about it today,
Yeah.
but where did that begin, and where does the Ferris wheel come from?
The Ferris wheel the idea is almost the same one. I just wanted to have fun in Olcott and do something. And I always thought, okay, I was on that Ferris wheel. There's a picture of it behind me when General Motors used to have their picnics here, and that park was over there, and I rode the exact same model, 12 seats, right here in the park as a kid. Okay. And so, I don't know, I just decided, I think I'm just going to get a Ferris wheel. So it took me about 5 years to get a Ferris wheel, because they tell you, first of all, I don't know anything about Ferris wheels. Secondly, it's like buying a used car. The guy would say, oh, yeah, we ran it last year, blah, blah, blah. So I go down to Rhode Island and look. And, no, that's junk. Finally, I went to one guy in New Hampshire. This came from New Hampshire. And he had just very well-maintained equipment. Just everything was painted. It was beautiful. And so I bought that and had it brought here. And I love running that.
What makes this place unique and special to you?
First of all, it's the best kept secret. You can have a great time. You got a great park over here with a splash park in it. You can go fishing. You can go in the kiddies park. I tell people the best thing to do in Olcott is to have a picnic. Bring a picnic. It's a great park. It's a great view. People here are really good. You met some of them.
It makes you emotional.
Yeah.
I think that's lovely, because I do think that that's the sentiment that we're getting from the town as we spend the day here.
You know what it is? I think it's a quality of life, okay? And I've been all over the country, and I never came back and said, oh, gee, I wish I lived in Seattle, or I wish I lived in, San Diego or wherever. I always thought, this is great.
It feels like for you, it's all about, are you having fun?
I don't do it. I always say no one has more fun than I do. You can ask my scoop masters.
No one has more fun than you.
No one has more fun than I do.
When we come back, we're heading to Carousel Park, where children find amusement and the parents find nostalgia. A perfect recipe for fun.
Explore the Underground Railroad's final stop. Learn about how the Latine workforce organized to overcome discrimination, and follow the timeline of immigration in Western New York.
So remember, history surrounds you and includes you.
Watch Compact History on the Buffalo Toronto Public Media YouTube channel.
From your morning commute to quiet evenings at home, Buffalo Toronto Public Media is always there with trusted news, inspiring stories, and timeless music. It's your connection to a world of wonder. This is Public Media.
Welcome back to Tapestry. I'm your host, Lynn Bader. And to close out this episode, we're hanging out at Carousel Park. I may be a little too tall for the rides, just barely, to be honest, but I sure wish I could ride them. I'm here with Dr. Rosemary Sansone, and Rosemary, you literally feel 10 when you walk through those gates, no matter how old you are.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. That's the vibe we're going for.
How does even putting something like this together begin?
Well, as a child, my father worked at Harrison Radiator Division in Lockport. And every summer they used to have a big picnic here in Olcott. There was this park, which was called the Olcott Amusement Park. I used to save my money all year long just to come here. I always had a good feeling about this place. It's like I'm getting emotional. It's like coming home. One day I was walking by and there was an older man with his grandson, and they were looking through the fence at everything. And the grandfather said, yes, there was a Ferris wheel over there. There was a Midway right here where we played all kinds of games. The carousel was over there. And so the kid looks at him and said, so where is it? And I thought, before everything is gone, the memories that we all had as children, I thought, well, somebody's got to do something about this. So I joined a committee. One of the projects was to do something with the carousel building. Okay. They were thinking of making it into a community center. I had a different view of that. It just evolved. There were so many people that came together to help.
So you get the community on board, right?
Yes.
And you start to get the community excited about it. Where do you find the rides? Like, how did that happen?
Oh, that's a great question. We put an article into one of the Carousel Trader magazines and asked if anybody had pictures of the carousel building in Olcott because we wanted to make it look the same as it did back then. Well, a man called and he said, I'm from Indiana. I don't have any pictures of Olcott, but I have a ride from Olcott. And I said, you do? And he said, yes. It was at the new Rialto Park, which was down the street. And he said, it's a kiddie car ride. And I said, I know exactly the one you're talking about because I rode it as a child. He said, I've got it for sale. But at that time, we were raising money quarter by quarter here, and didn't have much money.
Yeah.
I said, we'd love it, but we really need a carousel first.
Oh.
And he said, I've got a carousel. He said, I'm going to send you a video.
Okay.
That's when we had VHS tapes. In it were all these rides. I looked at it, and he called me, and he said, well, what do you think? I said, you've got this whole park that we want. And he said, well, come on down to Indiana and take a look at it. So I did. Some volunteers came with me. I signed a contract. A 3 year. My husband's an attorney. I think he was ready to shoot me.
Oh, my goodness.
And I only had 3 years to raise all the money for this stuff.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, what am I doing? But I didn't want to let it go because that was just what we wanted.
Yeah.
So it all worked out. We paid him up in 3 years.
List off the kinds of rides that you have here.
All right. Well, they're all vintage. And that's the 1940s, 50s era.
Okay.
Except for our carousel, that's a different era. That's a 1928 Herschel Spillman, which was made in North Tonawanda, which is quite close to here.
That's right. Herschel Carousel.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a wooden boat ride, and that's also a Herschel Spillman. We also have a kiddie car ride with hand-cast aluminum cars. There are 10 cars and 10 fire trucks on it. We also have a Sky Fighter. We also have a rocket swing ride, and we have a Ferris wheel that came from another defunct park, which was near here. It was in the town of Wheatfield, and it was called the Whistle Pig. And I rode it as a child, and so did my daughter. And thus we came up with the slogan, Building Memories for a New Generation. And all of these rides are for children who are 52 inches or less. Each ride only costs 25 cents.
Wow. 25 cents.
25 cents.
Why make the rides just a quarter, and how are you able to maintain that low price for these rides?
We wanted to kind of replicate what it was when we were children. And the rides were 5 cents. We couldn't quite go that low. We are able to maintain it because everyone that's working here, all of the adults, are volunteers. And
No one makes a penny.
no, except for the students that we have working.
Okay.
But everybody else just devotes their time. They believe in the dream and they're here. They put their heart and soul into everything. The other thing that happens is we have a fundraiser once a year. It's called the Park After Dark. And we transform the whole park into a carnival atmosphere for adults.
Really?
Oh, it's fascinating. And you've met Gina Guido.
Yes.
You
Yes.
read-
We spent some time this morning with
Yeah.
Gina.
Well, she's behind that. And she makes lots of money for us, and we're able to do projects, repair the rides.
Right. Why do you think Carousel Park strikes a chord with so many people?
It's nostalgic, it's happy, it's small.
As you were getting things going, was there a moment when you stopped and you were able to say, this is working? This dream has come true.
Yes, opening day, the man that sold us the carousel came down, helped us put it together.
Yeah.
And he was here for the grand opening. And it's then that it hit me that we're actually open to the public. And we got to be here every weekend.
So that's a great segue to my next question. What do you hope for Carousel Park in the future for the next generation?
I hope that it stays exactly the way it is, with improvements that come along the way, that it will remain 25 cents a ride, and that it will continue to have volunteers that run it.
Olcott is a gem in Western New York. Fun, smiles, and joy are at the heart of everything they do. That wraps up this episode of Tapestry, and next week we head south to Silver Creek in Chautauqua County, where the scent of grapes fills the air. What's happening in your town? Let us know by emailing tapestry@btpm.org. Tapestry is a production of Buffalo Toronto Public Media. You can listen to all our episodes at btpm.org or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Lynn Bader. Thanks for listening.